In Korean entertainment, we love to talk about the scandals, the messy breakups, the public feuds, the falls from grace. But there's a quieter story that almost never trends, because some of the most talented actresses this country ever produced didn't disappear because of a scandal. They disappeared because of a marriage. In this video, we're looking at 5 Korean actresses whose marriages cost them the thing they loved most. 1. Go Hyun-jung. If you want to understand this whole topic, you start with her. Go Hyun-jung was a Miss Korea runner-up who became one of the biggest stars of the 1990s, unforgettable in the legendary drama Sandglass. She was, by every measure, at the top. And then, in 1995, she married Chung Young-jin, the heir to Shin Se-gai, one of Korea's most powerful chaebol families, with ties to the Samsung dynasty. Almost immediately, she announced her retirement. The expectation was clear. A chaebol's wife did not act. So she walked away from the industry at her peak to live a life inside one of the country's richest families. That life did not stay a fairy tale. The marriage ended in a painful divorce in 2003, and Go lost custody of both of her children. Reports later said the family's stores wouldn't even carry products connected to her name. She had given up her career, and then lost her kids too. But here's the part that makes her a legend. In 2005, she came back, and not quietly. She returned to television and eventually became more iconic than ever, leading massive hits like Queen Seondeok. She rebuilt everything from the ground up. Still, you can't ignore what that marriage cost her first. 2. Chae Rim. In the late 90s and early 2000s, Chae Rim was everywhere. If you watched Korean dramas back then, you knew that face. She was one of the defining leading ladies of her generation, adored for hits like All About Eve. She wasn't just popular in Korea, she was hugely famous across Asia. Then in 2014, she married Chinese actor Gao Ziki, and slowly, her Korean career went quiet. She moved her life to China, focused on her marriage, and became a mother. The actress who had once been on every Korean screen essentially stepped off of them entirely. For years, the roles, the dramas, the spotlight she'd built at home, all of it faded into the background of a marriage in another country. The marriage lasted 6 years before they divorced in 2020. Chae Rim came out of it as a single mother, choosing a quieter, more peaceful life, largely away from the industry that once made her a superstar. And that's the thing that gets me about her story. She never had a scandal. She never lost her talent. She simply married, moved, and let a whole career go silent. A defining star of an entire era, gently erased by a marriage, and most fans barely noticed when it happened. 3. Kim Nam-joo. Kim Nam-joo was one of the most in-demand actresses of the late 1990s. Glamorous, magnetic, the kind of star brands fought to work with. Her future looked limitless. And then she married actor Kim Sung-woo in 2005. And her career as we knew it simply stopped. She didn't take a short maternity break. She stepped away to become a full-time housewife and mother. And that pause stretched on for years. While she still appeared in the occasional high-end commercial, the dramatic roles, the actual acting she was famous for, went dark for the better part of 8 years. In an industry that moves on in months, 8 years is practically a lifetime. Careers don't usually survive that. Hers did, barely and beautifully. In 2009, she made a triumphant comeback with the smash hit Queen of Housewives, proving she still had every bit of the charisma that made her a star in the first place. But think about those missing years. A woman at the height of her powers choosing, or being expected, to trade her career for domestic life, right when she had the most to give. She got a second act, which is rare. So many women in her position never get one at all. 4. Seo Min-jung. Some of these disappearances were loud. Seo Min-jung's was almost silent. She was a well-loved actress through the late 1990s and early 2000s, a familiar and warm presence on Korean television, the kind of star audiences genuinely rooted for. Then, in 2007, she married a Korean-American dentist and made a decision that surprised a lot of her fans. She retired from show business entirely and moved to New York City. She started a family, had a daughter, and built a completely ordinary life an ocean away from the industry that had made her famous. No farewell tour, no dramatic final role, just a wedding, a plane ticket, and a career left behind. And look, from the outside, it can sound like a happy ending, and maybe for her it was. But it's also part of a pattern That's impossible to ignore once you see it. Over and over, it's the woman who gives up the career. The marriage happens and it's her name that vanishes from the credits, her ambitions that get folded into someone else's life. Seo Min-jung chose her path, and she deserves respect for that. But an entire generation lost an actress they loved, and she never really got to say goodbye. 5. Seo Jung-hee. And now the story that isn't quiet at all, the one that shows the darkest version of everything we've been talking about. Seo Jung-hee was a promising young actress and model in the early 1980s, right at the start of what should have been a long career. Instead, according to her own account and later court proceedings, she was assaulted as a teenager by the well-known comedian Seo Se-won, and then pressured into marrying him. She gave up her acting career almost before it began, and what followed wasn't a marriage in any real sense. She has described more than 3 decades of control and abuse, a life she compared to being held captive. For 32 years, the public simply didn't know. The talented young woman who could have been a star spent her prime years silenced inside that marriage. It wasn't until 2015 that she finally broke free, divorced him, and took him to court, where he was convicted. Here's what matters most, though. She didn't let that be the end of her story. In her 60s, she came back, modeling, making videos, even returning to acting. After being erased for most of her life, she reclaimed her own name. If any story on this list proves how much a husband can take from a woman, it's hers, and so is how bravely she took it back. If this part is heavy for you, that's okay. It's a heavy story. If anything here hits close to home, please reach out to someone you trust. So that's 5 women, 5 careers, and 5 very different ways a marriage can end the thing you love. A chaebol's wife who lost her children and fought her way back. A superstar quietly relocated overseas. A leading lady turned full-time housewife. An actress who moved abroad and vanished from the screen. And a young woman whose whole life was taken, and who took it back in her 60s. What ties them together isn't weakness. It's the opposite. Every one of them was strong enough to build a career in one of the most competitive industries on earth, and every one of them saw that career overwritten by marriage, by family, by a man, or by all 3 at once. Some got a second act. Some didn't. But all of them deserve to be remembered as more than the actress who quit after she got married. So if one of these women meant something to you, if you grew up watching her, or you're just now learning her name, say so in the comments. Tell me which drama, which role, which face you still remember. Let's give them the send-off the headlines never did. Thank you for watching, and thank you for sitting with these stories with me.